And 3, 2, 1. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy, and welcome to another episode of the Lo-Fi Horror Guys Growing on You Live. Today, I'm going to be having on the one and only, the legendary, the master of metal himself, the one and only Mr. Zeuss, Chris Zeuss Harris. Holy shit! I don't even, it's pretty wild. Some of the people that are joining me for these episodes and these interviews are absolutely nuts. Zeuss, my dude, where do I start? I mean, he's produced one of my favorite bands, the Acacia Strain. Obviously, he's produced Rob Zombie, Shadows Fall, Sworn Enemy, Hatebreed, Agnostic Front, Madball, the Red Chord, Remembering Never, Terror, Icepick, Municipal Waste, Stick to Your Guns, Whitechapel, 6 Feet Under, Bloodclot. Holy shit. So much. I'm sitting here and I'm rattling all of this stuff off, but my dude has just absolutely been involved in so many absolutely amazing records. Things that I've been listening to for years and years, and things that, just recently have come out. The most recent Hatebreed record that just came out, I have been blasting that since that bad boy has come alive. So, really cool. I am very excited about this, and honored to be able to have him on. So, hey, Zeuss, how's it going, man?
All right, man.
Sick. Thank you so much for joining. This is absolutely amazing, man. Appreciate your time. Shit.
So I don't know. Yeah, my phone might go crazy because it's an old 6S. So, I tried to do the computer, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't working. They just want you to be on your phone, dude.
Isn't that something that, because there's been different ones where I haven't had an issue, and there's other ones. I don't know if it's certain computers for some reason.
It's not a MacBook Pro. I paid $4,000 for it, so it should work,
I know, you would think, geez, oh Pete. But then in the meantime, you click on a phone, and it's like, oh yeah, this will work fine. This is perfect.
It was like 2 seconds.
Jesus. All right, well, look, man. Let me say again, thank you for your time. This is absolutely amazing. Here on Growing on You Live, initially I'm going to have a couple of icebreaker fun questions. The remainder of the interview is about you and your craft. I've been a fan of your stuff for years and years, so this is going to be really sick to dig into. And then for the finale question, I have one finale that I wrote just for you. So if you're all comfy, man, we're going to get this bad boy started.
Let's go, bro.
All right, let's go. First of all, let me ask you, if my wife and I do some traveling, okay, if we were coming through Massachusetts and we asked you, what's a local restaurant or a local eatery that we have to stop at? What's a spot that we'd have to go? What do we got to try? According to you, a local favorite.
A local favorite. Let me think. It's a tough one. There's this place that's kind of like a tavern called Christopher's Tavern. That's pretty cool.
Okay.
Nice. A lot of beers on tap and stuff. And, I've been there a few times. I've brought some bands there. There's plenty of stuff. That just came off the top of my head. So
perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I love it. All right. Next,
I wasn't expecting my favorite restaurant in the area question. So
yeah. I try to break it up a little bit from maybe the same shit that you've heard over and over. You know what I'm saying, and make it a little bit worth your time.
Yeah, that's all good.
So, yeah. All right. Let me ask you next. From when you first started buying albums to today, give us 3 albums that you love that you bought solely off of the cover art.
Cover art. Okay, well.
Going to the record store,
All right, well, here's a funny one. I remember getting Meatloaf Bat Out of Hell and bringing it home.
Yes.
And putting it on, and I was just like, was not what I thought it was going to be. Put it that way. So nice. I ended up returning it. Nothing against Meatloaf or anything, but I was just like, whoa, this isn't like. But I got to say, like, maybe like Iron Maiden records and stuff like that, Motley Crue.
Okay.
They had like flashy, like the big pentagram. I still have that record, Shout at the Devil with the pentagram on the cover and, stuff like that. Ozzy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was
Diary of a Madman,
Exactly. It was a time where before, YouTube and you could go and you could listen to things or stream things online, you'd have to go into a record store and sit there and kind of pick through, different records that you're like, oh shit, I don't know what this is, but the cover art looks sick, let's bring this home and see.
Yeah. And I guess, I always liked, and later on, I always liked Ed Repka's art and his covers and stuff like that. And, Derek Riggs, did all the Iron Maiden stuff, and a lot of like cool records had weird art anyway. It wasn't like flashy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, just something
So
with a little difference there.
yeah, so I wasn't solely just out for like whatever the cover looked like. I would buy it. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Okay. What was some of your process of elimination as far as going and maybe picking up something that you didn't, know
That
the
I didn't
band?
know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when I got older, what I would do is I would read the thank yous in the album, and
Yes.
I'd be like, oh, they're thanking this band or that band, like during the thrash, late '80s, the Bay Area stuff, like,
Mm-hmm.
Exodus would thank, Forbidden and like or whatever, Legacy, and it's like, oh well, who are these bands, and
Right.
I would go out and buy all of them,
Yes,
you
yes,
know,
absolutely. Those thank yous was like a savior. You'd go and you look at like hardcore records even in the early 2000s.
hardcore
You're like,
records,
oh
totally
shit, who's
seven
this band?
inches, and
Yeah.
and flyers, like who's that, and it's like a rabbit hole. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, paint us a picture as far as like earlier on, in life and your interest in music. Where did it start? With bands and songs that really caught your attention. To be like, oh man,
I gotta
this is
say,
good
like
stuff.
number one of the first ones was Kiss for sure. So going back to the
Yes.
art, like I can remember getting the first Kiss record, and it was probably not. I mean, I was born in '72, so the Kiss was already out and about by that point.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe like 5 or 6 years old, like Kiss was definitely one of the ones that was like I would get their records too, or get them for Christmas, and I had a little
Mm-hmm.
record player, and
Oh, okay.
I would hang their posters on the wall and stuff like that, and so
Oh
Kiss
yeah.
was definitely one. Black Sabbath, the Beatles, um, Van Halen, all kinds of
Nice.
stuff.
Nice.
Deep
What
Purple.
were your parents into kind of the same thing too? Like, how did you get into those interests?
Yeah, they liked like the Doors and the Beatles and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. But I always seem to find things with like friends would have like older brothers or
Yeah.
older sisters, and we would just their records would be around, and that's how I would find a lot of stuff too.
Okay. Okay. Now, was it something too that they were, supportive of? You come home with a record and it's got a huge pentagram on it, or were they like,
No, well, no, they didn't
Chris?
really. I always had musical freedom.
Nice. Okay.
Nothing
Cool.
was ever like you can't listen to this or that. It was never anything like that. So I was
Okay.
lucky in that aspect.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. What was like the main source of you? You mentioned a record player. Was that initially kind of your main source of listening to music, or was it more of like a radio in the car, or what was your kind of main
Well, I
source
mean,
when you were early on?
obviously, yeah, you would hear things, songs on the radio. Like I would hear Tom Sawyer on the radio. It's like, who's that? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You would dig, and you'd be like, okay,
Right.
that's Rush and stuff like that. And so yeah, albums like in the store, the department stores, and magazines, and um, just all that stuff.
Nice. Okay. And now growing, from being, a fan and absolutely loving music, getting a little bit older, being able to go to shows. What have been some of your personal favorite shows or concerts that you've been able to attend?
Uh, well, I did see a lot of '80s hair band shows back in the day. Here's an interesting one. I saw the show um, where Aerosmith and Skid Row were playing, and that was the one where Sebastian Bach threw the bottle in the audience and hit
No
somebody.
shit.
I was like at that show. That was like big news in
Whoa.
our area.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Wow.
there's an early show, like for a rock show.
Yeah.
I was always going to local stuff, and could see as many concerts as I could. And as I got older, I would go and see more shows. But like seeing Slayer in '88 with like Overkill and Motorhead, and
Yeah.
shows like that were like probably some of the standouts to me. Megadeth on
Damn.
the So Far So Good So What tour.
Oof.
That's
Man.
where I first saw Sanctuary, who I ended up working with in the future.
Yeah.
Like fast
Right.
forward like 28 years later or whatever it is, or
Right.
30 years, and here
Yeah.
I am working with that band. So it's
Right.
kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, is it kind of one of those things where it's like, hey, man, I saw you guys back in '88. I was in the back of the crowd and shit. And now it's like, hey, here you are.
Yeah. That there's some moments like that sometimes with when I'm working with some of these bands. It's like, oh wow, like I used to listen to you guys when I was younger, and who would have thought I'd be working with you as a producer or mixing your record or something.
Yeah. Okay. Now, and kind of segueing into this next question with that, as far as where did your interest, in music kind of divert into actually doing something with it, whether it being playing an instrument or, kind of looking into the recording engineering process.
I would say like I was hooked like from day one, from like 10 years
Okay.
old when I was,
Oh,
taking a
wow.
guitar, my buddy's guitar, it was his father's, and learning Iron Man on it and Smoke on the Water,
Yeah.
and it was missing a few strings, and we would plug like we would plug the guitar into his stereo in a way where if we like engaged the record function on the tape deck, it would be like a cheap amplifier, and we would just turn the input all the way up, and it would distort. Like so, like we would find ways, and we would use like headphones and plug those in, and use that as a microphone, and the reverse engineer way, and
Oh,
all that
shit.
kind of stuff.
Okay.
So, like from early on, like that's all I cared about. I didn't really play
Wow.
sports. I didn't give a shit about that stuff. I
Yeah.
just wanted to jam and come up with riffs, and I would lock myself in my room and just play guitar all day. That's what I would do.
And were you in bands playing too?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I would jam with neighborhood friends and stuff, and
Okay.
there was like people in my neighborhood that played guitar and drums and stuff like that. So we would get together and jam, and that was like it right there. That's how it all started.
Okay. Nice.
So I
Nice.
mean, really early on, it was just there was no jamming. But then once you started to find people, and a lot of times they were like they were in different towns, so you'd be like, oh well, that guy plays bass. We got to get him, and that's how it kind of started. And you would just start to meet more musicians around your
Okay.
area.
Okay. Was that like through like flyers, kind of like back in the day
No,
with,
like
through
word of
shows or
mouth,
anything?
man. Like I know
Oh,
this
okay.
guy or I know that guy. I'm talking. This was early on,
Hmm. Okay. I,
so
I
it
I
wasn't
didn't know
like
if like it was like a record shop, and there was like people posting up flyers like, hey, in need of a bassist or something like that type thing.
yeah, there was definitely some of that stuff too, but I think it was more or less you started to know who everybody was in the area. Be like, all right, I know that guy. He's not good, or that guy's untouchable. Like we would never be able to play with that guy or whatever.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. Nice. Now, so getting, professionally into engineering and producing, what were kind of the starting steps into getting to that and working with bands?
Well, I think the first time I was in a recording studio, I was like 15 years old, and I did a demo. And right around that time is when I started farting with like various ways of how to record things, like with boom boxes and stuff. Like I would record something on one boom box and then play along with it or do something and record it to a second boom box. Okay, so that was a poor man's way of bouncing things.
Okay. Wow.
So I would do stuff like that, and then when I was got enough money saved up and like birthday or Christmas or whatever, I got a 4 track, and then that was it right there. I just started
Damn.
writing my own stuff, and then I got a drum machine, and um, that just spawned like getting into that kind of thing. And I was still playing in bands and things, but I'd say like right around the '90s, the early '90s, I was just like, I think I'm going to start doing this. So it started as like a hobby, and I would go around people's practice spaces and record them on my 4 track. And then word
Oh,
was
okay.
spreading. They were like, "Whoa, this sounds better than the demo we did at so and so's place, with the big studio." So like that word of mouth kept,
Building.
going through the scene and all that kind of thing. And then I was playing shows with some of the bands I was in, and talking with other musicians, and I would say, "Hey, I'll record your band for nothing." And it
Damn.
just kind of just started like that.
Okay. All right. And as far as like what were maybe some things that you had to learn from in those first couple of projects, that may have been a pain in the ass at the time, but was good learning from that.
You would learn from your mistakes. Like I didn't have a lot of equipment, so
Hmm.
you had to make best with what you had and just figure it out as you went. So yeah, I there was a lot of mistakes
Yeah.
throughout like the early on. And I still make mistakes. I still learn something every time, even today.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I always learned by trial and error and doing things more or less, not like somebody showing me like, oh, this is how you do this. Like, there's guys out there doing stuff now that like I'm like I remember figuring that out 15 years ago. But
Right.
I'm serious.
Holy
I'm like,
shit.
because you had to figure things out. It was like there wasn't anybody. It's
Yeah,
not like
right.
now. It's like go on this like thing and pay $20 a month and learn all these ways of doing this and that. Like you didn't have that then.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they did. There was
Huh.
no
Wow,
internet.
yeah. Right.
You know,
Okay.
so who do
Yeah,
you
that
go?
was another
So
thing
who
I
do you
was
go to learn that?
right. Yeah, I mean that was kind of the thing back in the day, was
Like
just
the
trial
shred
and
guitar
error.
players now. How do you? Back then, it was like you had to know somebody that could play the Randy Rhoads solo all the way through.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, you
The-
couldn't, or even if I would bring stuff to my teacher and I took lessons for a short while, he'd be like, this is you're not going to be able to play this. Here's your blues scale.
right.
So you kind of had to learn from like ear and talking with people that really learned how to play something, and
Right.
that was it. Or like tab books, but there wasn't a lot of that stuff out there.
Right. Well, and I can
Maybe
imagine too, especially with like producing or engineering, as well, like there wasn't a whole lot of, resource other than the whole trial and error
here's
as
the thing
well.
with producing, man. And I say this. This one guy asked me this question, and I said, 80% of it isn't even music related. It's dealing with the people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, it's getting inside their mind and figuring out what they want you to do.
Yeah. Okay.
You got to try to help
Interesting.
them get their vision down.
Huh. Wow. Okay. I mean, do you have, are there certain projects that come along that are, that are easier or that are more difficult than one
They're all,
another?
they're all. I can't say anyone's more difficult than another. They all have
Yeah.
something to them that's like,
Right.
okay, I got to figure this out.
Yeah.
Like this guy
Okay.
here or that person here, or there's
Individualism.
something that you got to figure out. Like
Sure.
um, I don't know how to explain it anymore, but it's kind of like you're working on a song or whatever, and you got to try to figure out how to get the best out of every person involved with that song.
Okay.
And there's always a
Nice.
quirk along the way.
Okay. All right.
And it
Now,
doesn't, and producing doesn't stop like when you leave the studio. You can get called any time of the night for something.
yeah. Okay.
So
All right. As far as like so some years later, you open up Planet Z Studios. Tell us about kind of the what were the initial things that you were looking for when you were first opening the studio that were kind of must haves for it?
you mean like equipment?
Yeah, yeah, either that or
Well,
even the
we
space.
well, I had to have enough space to record, artists, drums, bass, guitar, whatever, and have enough equipment to um, record as many tracks as I could. I started off with, like I said, four.
Yeah. Right.
That's it. And then I remember getting my first 8-track machine and was like, okay, now I can put the drums on 2 tracks, then the bass and the guitars and everything, and spread those out. You know what I mean? And then have a little bit left over for vocals. And then you have to
Right.
figure out, all
Well,
right, you want to record more. Well, you got to figure out how to bounce it down and make room for more tracks that you could record people. It's not like now you can spend $99 and get a program, right?
right.
And be able to record unlimited tracks.
Right.
So
right.
yeah, so
Right.
I had a analog mixing console. I had a little small rack of outboard, and it's not like now it's like, okay, I could put a compressor on every channel and an EQ, and it's like you had whatever you had, and that was it.
Man, and so when you initially moved in, you had the 4 track still? When you initially
Oh
had
yeah,
your
yeah,
your
yeah. I
the
kept the
studio?
4-track for the longest time, but I think when I first started doing stuff when I called it Planet Z was when I had an 8-track. So 8-track was
Oh,
my
okay.
was how many tracks I could record at one time, and that's all I had.
Okay.
So it wasn't like this big, and it wasn't like this big, like come to this amazing studio with like a 24-track 2-inch machine and a SSL console. It was like very small, homegrown type of thing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But
Got ya.
I made the best out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the
And
process in
then
the
and
beginning
then
when you're
I
figuring
and
shit
then
out
I,
for
the
sure.
more money that I could save up and things like that, I would buy the next piece. And then
Hmm.
it's like, I need another pair of headphones now because
Right.
I got to record 3 guys today. Oh, well, those headphones are $150. Like, okay. So I would buy another pair of headphones, and it was just a rabbit hole. It was never ending.
Yeah. Okay. Now, obviously, I think there's going to be an obvious answer, but if there's something else that you have, what's maybe a helpful tip as far as somebody reaching out to you, just as far as preparedness for coming into the studio. I'll even say other than having your music down, knowing that, but are there
I would
other tips that you
say,
have for musicians?
I would say try to have your songs crafted enough to a point where they're ready enough to work on. Unless you're going to work with somebody that's willing to sit there from the first note, you kind of have to be prepared and have, like when I went in the studio, when I started, I had to know how to play the song and you had to play through the song.
Right.
You were in a band.
Right.
Now kids, they show up and they open up their laptop and they're like, well, here's my little piece and here's that. And you're in the computer and it's like, all right, this isn't, what's this?
Right.
So
Right.
I would say like try to have your song kind of to a point where it has something going on, enough parts and know how to play the song, and that's the first piece of advice I would say.
Okay. Okay. I got you. Yeah. So tell us about, and by no means I don't want, any names or bands or anything like that, but do you have something that comes to mind where there was a challenge, at hand where you're trying to, work with somebody and you're like, look, you have to do this. And, it just wasn't quite clicking and you had to do something kind of out of your normal wheelhouse to get it to click with the band to get,
I mean, there's always that kind of a thing, to the point where like
okay.
sometimes I'm like, I'll pick a guitar and I'll say this is what I'm thinking, and there you go. Like I'll have to show somebody what I'm thinking, or I'll
Oh, okay.
sing the melody to them, or whatever. Like whatever it takes to make it work.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I just wonder that, just as far as, I mean, because I know there's different individual challenges with different bands, but, if there was something that came to mind that was just like, all right, this is what I got to
Uh,
do. But picking up a
I mean,
guitar, I mean, that's a good answer too. Just
well,
showing
I
like,
mean, I
hey,
don't know
this is
what
what
else
I'm
to
thinking.
say about that. Like,
Yeah.
or this guy just isn't good enough. We got to get somebody else. How about that? That's happened.
For real?
Well, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I
We'll,
shouldn't be
we'll
surprised by
just
that.
replace your shit, man.
Yeah. Oof.
You're not. If you can't do it, then we got to get somebody else.
Yeah. That's a rough conversation.
That's a rough conversation. So there you go. That goes back to what did I say earlier? It's the
Yeah.
mental thing. It has nothing to do with he was playing a riff or something. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with
Okay.
that. Now you got to tell the whole band like your bass player sucks. He just can't play.
Oh, man.
Imagine that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Holy shit. This is why I like having these conversations with different people outside of, like even speaking with the musicians, because that's like those are the struggles like that is like the shit that people don't think about, or hear that's like, God, I can't
And it's
imagine
not
being in
always
that in
that
that
negative
aspect.
either. Like you're giving me questions like
Yeah.
that. So it's like, all right, well, yeah, like uh you got to remember like some of these musicians have things going on in their personal lives, and
Right.
that can affect their performance and their thinking, and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What are some of the more unique ways as far as like um well, no, we kind of touched on that. Let's see. As far as more recently, some of your stuff with being able to work with like Hatebreed. Tell us about was there anything different with working with their new record that just came out here? With working with them album after album that popped
Yeah,
up
well,
this last time.
a lot of times it's like, all right, well, let's see what they got for stuff.
Okay.
But this time around, like I said to Jamie, I think we should make it more in your face. And I said, I don't want to put any effects on your vocals, nothing. It's just right in your face.
Ooh. Okay.
And it seemed to be working to the point with the songs. And he's not tucked behind with reverb and effects and stuff. It's straight on him,
Yeah.
like right there. And we also um, changed up the guitars a little bit this time, and uh, did more rhythm tracks, which took a while because it's not we play everything is played on a Hatebreed record.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got to be tight as shit. So working with Wayne and Frank and all those guys, it's time consuming.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we
And
had
Wayne slapping out some solos on this bad boy.
yes, the same thing. Like Wayne would come in with some ideas, and sometimes I would just loop the part and I would just sit there and listen, and I'd be like, that, right there, what's that? And he would be like, and this, I'm like, yep, that's it. Let's record that right now. Or sometimes I would be recording and be just loop recording. And then sometimes I would dig back and go, that thing right there. But he is one of those guys that really thinks about his solos and crafts them. He's not like, doesn't come in and go, I don't know what I'm going to play. Like, he comes in and he has some ideas of what he wants to do. So it's a matter of, all right, let's craft this solo together, which is what I do with most of the lead players. It's like, let's figure out what, like when I work with Dave Davidson, sometimes he'll be doing something. I'll be like, how about like a classic lick here? And he just instantly plays something like, sounds like Vivian Campbell or something, you know? It's like, whoa, right, that, now let's try that. And I like doing that with the lead players too, because sometimes they get stuck, they get in a rut, and it's like, all right, you got this much more to go, and it's, to me, the solo's got to be memorable.
Yeah, well,
that's my number one rule. You could wank all you want, it doesn't matter. So it's got to have something, and you know, you brought up a great example of Wayne's solos, like the ones that are on this new record, are very memorable, and I laugh sometimes. I call them like Wayne McHammett. Sounds like kind of like Kirk Hammett style. He's, you know, some of his leads have that flavor, but they're very memorable.
Yeah, nice.
So there you go.
Nice. Yeah,
so there's some things on this record, and me and Matt, sometimes I drive Matt crazy. You know, that kick right there, like, and I'll do the beat with him, and then he gets, oh, I hear, because, you know, sometimes the riff cycles on a weird way, and he's accenting a different part, and it's like, okay. It's just, you got to do a lot of listening and a lot of like figuring out how to tell these guys, you know, what you're hearing, and then they hear it, and you just bounce things back and forth.
Okay.
Same thing with the bass lines. Like me and Beatty, we'll craft the bass lines.
Okay.
You know, it's not, sometimes it's not always follow the guitar. It's like you're really crafting.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's sick. You know,
and every guy has a different way of playing. So it's like, all right, some guy will hold the pick like a knife. Some guy holds it flat. Some guy will just be heavy-handed. And it's like, all right, well, how do you make it work?
Right. Do you have any things, you know, that come to mind as far as musicians and unique ways of trying to express, like, you know, like, okay, I'm thinking this for the solo. Like, have you ever seen certain people even drawing pictures or anything like that? That's like, oh, that was weird.
No, I've never heard of that. But like, look, I mean, I'd have to think about it. But a lot of times it's just, you know, you're sitting with the person in the room and you're listening.
Okay.
You figure out what to tell them. They tell, you know, sometimes you don't have to tell them anything. They have everything figured out, and you just move on.
Right. Okay.
And it's not always, you know, I'm not the one that's in control of the song 100%.
Right.
Their song. It's not my song.
Yep. Okay. With some of the heaviest tracks that there are that you've, you know, had help in being responsible with producing or mixing or editing or, you know, all those things. Can you come up with, you know, 3 tracks that come to mind that are just the heaviest tracks that have, you know, through your work that come to mind?
I can't answer that question because you could look at my discography and say, okay,
right.
Did you find your heaviest, you know, like I could say there's some fucking heavy ass shit on an Amir record I did.
Yeah.
But there's a heavy riff on a Queensryche record I did too.
Yeah. Oh, so, yeah.
Like, and to me, like the heaviest thing, like what is the heaviest thing? You can't answer that question.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just meant like, you know.
Yeah, but like, what would you think is the heaviest riff?
I mean, there's different things I can come up with, you know, saying things from Bloodclot, you know, Beast from the Acacia Strain. You have Hatebreed. You have all the stuff that you've done with them.
Okay, so you're talking about the records that I was involved with. Okay, yeah, no, Acacia Strain, heavy as fuck. Those guys, like super heavy. So, but then again, like you could be like, how do I pick 3? You know, I could be like that Agnostic Front breakdown is fucking heavy, or that Madball, you know, breakdown is equally as heavy as that last Amir thing, even though they're tuned down to like, blah, blah, blah,
right,
you know, or Acacia Strain, you know, so they're all heavy in their own way to me.
Love it. All right. Yep. Now with your work with Rob Zombie, you initially produced Venomous Rat Regeneration
Actually, no, I
Bender,
didn't. Bob
or
Marlette
was
produced
or
that.
oh okay. Did
Yeah.
you mix it then?
No, that was mixed by Kevin Churko. Yeah,
Well,
I
boy,
started.
I
I
apologize.
worked on that record as an assistant engineer and set up a studio for Rob in his house.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
got it.
yeah.
All right.
So that was
Now,
part of the record. I just think
right.
that's as far as I got with that.
Oh, okay, got you. As far as with that process with working with him on that record, can you tell us about just kind of the relationship developing from that into working on films with him?
Well, I mean, it didn't happen overnight. It was a gradual thing when it came to that stuff. Like the film thing at that, when that happened, I was already working with him musically for a while, and I
Yeah.
was the music editor on the 31 film. And John Five was actually the composer on the film, the sole composer,
Mhm.
and he was falling a little bit ill, and so he, some of the cues weren't coming in fast enough, and so Rob was like, "Hey, do you want to try this one right here? This is what I'm thinking for this cue here." And take a crack at it, and that's basically how it started right there. So I did it, and I can't remember exactly which one it was or if it worked out perfectly, but the thing with that, normally is he'll tell me an idea of like what he's looking for. Sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he's like, all right, just do your thing here, and I'll just have to figure out what the emotions are for the cue, like because he could be like, you could be watching something like in the Three from Hell movie where the clown's jumping up and down and it's funny music.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean? So you got to know like what's you got to convey musically.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of time with scoring. It can add a completely different character with even just
totally.
slapping on the wrong thing.
So back to the original question, like I was kind of eased into the whole thing, and so it got to the point where I did a handful of things on that movie, and that was it right there. That kind of got me into that whole world.
Okay. Now, initially, was the first thing that you had scored or worked on with scoring something called Boom Headshot?
No, I don't know what that is.
No. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
That must have been something different that they had you credited on online for, because
it's
I couldn't even find
probably.
what the hell it was.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's another reason why I go by Zeuss. The whole it's the whole nickname thing
Hmm.
is like Chris Harris. There's a million of them, and there's an example
Right.
right there. There's probably five other or 20 other ones that probably scored something, and now they it goes onto my thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's probably what that is.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, for some reason it was under, even when I was looking at Zeus too, so but I couldn't find any further information on it, so I was like, well, I don't know what the
Yeah,
hell this is.
it happens a lot. Like a lot of times, like something pops up that I didn't do. It's because of my name. It's very common.
Yeah, okay, okay,
So
got you.
that's probably yeah. So I don't know what that is.
Okay. Now, do you have anything, recently that's going to be coming up that you're going to be working on? Obviously, you have, the new record with Rob Zombie that they just released a new single for that. What can you tell us about that record coming up?
Well, it's got a lot of variety. I could say that, and it's got a lot of twists and turns, and it's total Rob Zombie. So I think and there's some, like I said, a lot of different elements going on. So you got some
Hmm.
heavy stuff, you got some funky stuff, and he's just so great at crafting unique things.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
it's got a little bit for everybody. And the record was actually done for a while now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we started that like working on that like three plus years ago. And
Oh.
he does his touring and he has his films and stuff like that. So the amount of time that he can work on it, it takes some time. So
Oh, okay, okay. Now you had mentioned with 31, were you more involved with the scoring process with Three from Hell, or was that kind of the
yes,
same?
yeah, Three from Hell, I was brought on totally as the composer.
Okay, all
So
right,
that was
got
a
you.
little bit different because it was like, all right, here you go, like you're the guy now. So I can remember being a little bit nervous, and the first thing that he gave me for that film was the end machete scene.
Ooh.
That whole cue right there, the whole entire thing. And that took me a couple of weeks to get something going because it's like very like Morricone type of style,
Yeah.
spaghetti western, like completely out of like completely different than what I would ever try to craft with all of my musical abilities.
Huh.
And it's
Wow.
not like we have an orchestra and you can figure out whatever has to happen and it they just play it all. Like here I am with a computer. That's it.
Yeah.
Now
Okay.
make it happen.
Right. Right. I was going to ask
So
some of your inspirations too, but mentioning the spaghetti western and different shit, like, oh, all right, I see that.
it was very, very, very challenging scoring that film, I can tell you. So like he believed in me and I just would do one piece at a time. Everything in that film was created by me.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Okay.
even down to the clown music on the boom box, when you hear something on the
Oh,
TV
wow.
set, that's all crafted by me.
Damn. No kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
Holy
Yep.
shit. Yeah, that's
Yep. All the
awesome. I mean,
little
those are fine
jingles,
details.
all the little jingles that you hear, like because it's got to be crafted. How do I say this? Like if not, it would have the music would have to be licensed.
Yeah, right. Right. Or having different bands or something, yeah, and getting
Well,
the
there's
the,
no
the rights to
bands, you
them
know
and
what I mean.
everything.
It would be you would have to pay to have that music used. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's awesome. I mean, those are really really cool things, and I know I personally, as a fan of Rob Zombie, I'm super excited for this new record. There's definitely tones in all of his stuff with White Zombie, but the energy that I'm hearing on these two songs, that kind of brings me back a little bit to that energy of White Zombie days, and
cool.
having that still very alive is awesome, and I'm seeing lots of positive things about those tracks, and the videos, they're fucking awesome too.
Yeah, the videos are cool. Like I'm digging the whole everything that's been happening so far. So
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Okay. And now, as far as scoring, is that something that you're interested in continuing, or just kind of when like little things pop up and it might be the right project?
Oh well, I mean, I even did. I do want to do this more and everything. The pandemic kind of slowed it down a little bit because I was on a roll. But I did do some cues for this film, Deep Blue Sea 3, which I didn't end up getting the gig. But I did a
Oh
whole
man.
big long cue of the ending scene of that movie that nobody's ever going to hear. But so yeah, so I did get contacted by another director, and I did some stuff and. There's been some opportunities that just haven't happened.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But yeah, like there's something coming up that I can't reveal that I'll be involved with scoring again that everybody will
Ooh.
hear about at some point.
Oh, sweet. Very nice. Well, that's cool. That's exciting shit. That's awesome. I mean, you did a great job with the two there that you worked on, and I mean, it's a cool, different venue, to take than with you producing and all the stuff in the studio for so long. I mean, I'm sure it's a little refreshing to,
Well,
you know,
it's kind of related a little bit. It's like, all right,
right.
you're watching something, you're like, all right, how do you make all those emotions happen?
Yeah.
So it's
Huh.
kind of like reversed.
Right. Okay. Well, that's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
whenever that gets announced or released, I'll have to check that out and have you back on and maybe talk
You'll
about
know about it
what
when you
what
hear
goes in.
about it.
Oh shit! All right, I'll stop because I don't want anything slipping. I don't want anything going
It
any
won't
further.
slip.
That
Trust me.
sounds sick. I love it.
It's not
Awesome.
going to
All
slip.
right, look, man, this has been incredible. This is our time. I do have the one finale question here
What
for you,
is it?
but this has been awesome. Do you have anything that you want to pitch or you want to tell people to check out new projects that are coming up?
Well, I have a couple of things coming out. Todd Latoure's solo record is going to
Oh
drop
yeah,
next week.
yeah.
It's a fantastic rock slash metal record. It's a little different from his stuff in Queensryche.
Mm-hmm.
I mixed and mastered that, and he's got some videos online now you can check out.
Oh, sick.
The Rob Zombie record will be coming out. Let's see what else. Oh, Angelus Apatrida is this band from Spain, this thrash band from Spain. Their record either came out yesterday or it's coming out soon, like within a few weeks. I
Oh,
can't remember
okay.
offhand what the exact date is, but I just got that record in the mail. So that's coming out. What
What are
else?
they called again? Sorry.
Angelus Apatrida. I don't know if that's exactly how you say the name, but
Close enough to
they're on
type out.
Century Media Records. Check it out. They got a new video
Okay.
out too. Really cool stuff.
Sick. All right.
What else is coming out? Um, well, the Hatebreed came out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. Oh, there's another one. There's this band called The Letter Black. Check them out.
Oh, okay.
I mixed and
Okay.
mastered that
Nice.
a little while back, and that one's a really good record. If you like
Sweet.
rock and metal, you'll like that too. So check that
Okay.
out. Let's see.
Nice.
Um, I can't remember offhand what else might be coming out soon, but
Okay. I mean, really quick too. I don't want to dig into all this stuff with the pandemic and all that shit because I mean that gets brought up over and over. But have you had a lot of projects since since all of this has been going on? Have you had a lot of things that you've been working on and having just keep real spaced out?
yeah, actually, I'm fortunate enough where I've been pretty busy this whole time, so
Oh, sweet.
hasn't
Yeah,
affected
it's
me.
awesome.
Yeah, well, everybody's
Okay, great.
creating right now.
Yeah,
So, and
that's the
I'm
thing you gotta
also doing
appreciate. You know what I mean?
another cool thing that nobody knows about yet too. Some co-writing, that's going to be really really cool, and I can't wait for people to find out about that too. So
Oh
that's
shit.
coming up.
Oh,
Oh, and also
sick.
you mentioned like
Oh,
the hardcore stuff. Like one of the bands that I was in back in the day called Push Button Warfare. I actually got all the master tapes for that, and that's being remixed right now. That's going to be put out. I'm remixing it.
oh, damn. No
Yeah.
kidding. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Is
So
that
that'll be coming out at some point on vinyl. Cruel Hand. That's another thing that just came out. Can't believe I didn't think of that.
yes.
That's on Static
Yes.
Era Records, and it's my good friend Jay Reason is running that. And if you want to check out some cool hardcore, these guys have been around for a while, and it just came out. So check it
Absolutely.
out. Cruel Hand.
Yeah, Maine represent. That's them right
Yes,
there.
right, Maine. There you go. You know who they are.
Hell yeah, I got a couple of their shirts, man. They're badass. I love that band.
Yep. So
Yeah.
yeah, that came out. It's a four-songer with a cover of a Life of Agony song.
Yes.
Weeds is on
Yep.
that. Yep. So
Sick.
that just came in the mail too. So
Okay.
if I
Okay.
forgot anything, I just can't think of it right now. But those are a handful of things. And I'm working with Queensryche again, so that's cool.
Oh. Wow. Okay. All
Yeah, I
right.
went down to
Sweet.
Florida. I was working with those guys on some pre-pro on the songs, and that was cool. So I'll be working on and off with them.
And working with them, I mean, it has to be a dream come true. I mean, because you've been a fan of theirs for some
Oh
time
yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Oh, by far. Like I
Damn.
remember getting, the first EP and The Warning and Rage for Order, and I still have all those records from when I bought when I was a kid, and I
Yes.
love that kind of stuff too. So I like a lot of different styles of music. So to work with that band was another like whoa type of a moment.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, and I mean, and that's the cool thing, with like music, it's not necessarily. I mean, you're more notably for the metal and heavier hardcore, da 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 da, whatever. But I mean, you also have some other different projects that are out there too. I mean, they sound just as just as great. They're suitable for what the project is. So, I
Well, I
mean,
like to spread myself
good
out.
music's
Like
good music,
I got to spread myself out. I can't be doing the same thing over and over. You know.
right?
So
Keep it interesting.
yeah, I mean, if I can't do deathcore every day of my life, or
Right.
thrash metal every day of my life, or death metal. I gotta switch it up. I like
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, man. Well, look, this is gonna be the finale here. I'm gonna throw at you real quick. It's gonna be something kind of just fun and silly and off the top of your head here. So I came up with a little thing as far as some of you're researching into your work and producing and working with different people. So let's just say Rob Zombie was coming out with a new movie and he asked you to score it, and also he wanted you to choose 5 members to create a band for this movie. Okay, so in this movie, basically, it's going to be about a band on tour, and they're in the metal or hardcore genre, whichever.
So I have to
And
put together a band, right?
you do
Why
of
don't we make
five
something
of
totally crazy, like
that's what I'm looking
Stigma on
for.
guitar,
Yes.
Mickey D on drums.
Ooh.
Uh, let's see, who would be the guitar
Damn.
player? Buckethead. Oh no, well we got
Oh
Stigma already.
man.
All right, so bass player. Let me think. Uh, Mickey D, Stigma, right?
Uh-huh.
Who would play bass?
This band rules already.
Um, huh?
So this band rules already.
It would be very unique. Let me think. Boy, that's a tough one because I'm thinking of like all these bass players.
Yeah.
How about Steve Harris from Iron
Oh
Maiden?
man. Oh my God.
And then what do I have to come up with a singer too?
Who are we gonna have for a vocalist? We got to do it.
Uh, Chuck Billy.
Oh my God. Dear Lord.
What would happen if you did that?
I'm trying to think. I mean, just thinking Steve Harris and having
And Vinny Stigma
old
and
stigma
Mickey
there.
D and
Oh
Chuck
my
Billy.
Lord, that would be a horror movie. You wouldn't have to write a whole lot. I mean,
Yeah, but
Rob would have an
imagine
easy
what that
job on that.
song would be like.
Yeah.
So, like, remember the real Roadrunner United, and they put all these musicians together. So maybe
Yes.
that's something that I
Yes.
could do is put together my own version of that.
Just
So there's the
a
first
dream come
there's the
true.
first band. Like, imagine that song.
Okay. I want to imagine it's going to be real life. Hopefully that comes to be something because that sounds amazing.
Right? That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Do it up. Oh my God, that's a even better answer than what I could have asked for. Honestly, man. Look,
There you
Zeuss,
go.
this has been absolutely amazing, man. This is concluding our time. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy dude, and I appreciate you coming on and taking the time with me.
All right, man. It was very fun, and keep in touch, and
Absolutely.
enjoy the records that I've worked on that are coming out, and yeah, man.
Hell yeah. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much again. You got the Lo-Fi Horror Guy. My dude, Zeuss. Check out the records. He has plenty coming out and plenty in his back catalog. Check him out. You guys take
All
care.
right.
Stay safe. Bye-bye.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi, a horror guy. Yeah.